You've probably heard about the idea of the hero's journey. It's a structure that you can map to many of the great films, stories, and mythologies of our world. But did you know that you can map your own hero's journey? Like, you can actually figure out what the hell you're here to do on Earth. And it doesn't require any guesswork. The secret is actually hidden in your astrological birth chart. So let's dive in. Welcome back to Numinous Realm. So, what is the hero's journey? Well, this was put forward by Joseph Campbell. He's the author behind The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and he studied all these world mythologies and found that they pretty much followed a similar narrative arc. From the Buddha to Odysseus, there was a very archetypal quality to their story. And so George Lucas, the filmmaker behind the Star Wars franchise, he said, he was so inspired by what Campbell was proposing that he was one of the first to consciously sort of put this structure into filmmaking, even though you can already see it happening in films throughout history. But it became like quite a piece of historical artifact because of how consciously the narrative arc of the hero's journey was put into the film. And so you can see this with the main character, Luke Skywalker, and how he sort of falls in this narrative arc. And if you look deeply into Joseph Campbell's work, he has many stages that are part of the hero's journey, and I'm gonna just be looking at the main four with you here today. So there's the call to adventure, when you feel that there's something beyond this world, this ordinary world. You sense it in your bones. There maybe someone came along and said something to you that made you realize, wow, this is not all there is. There's probably something more. So now you've heard the call, and maybe you're taking the next few steps to sort of embark on that call. But then there's the refusal of the call. That means that something might happen, like your family's telling you no, you can't do it, or your work or whatever it is holds you back, and so you're like, no, this is not for me. I can't. I'm not the person. I'm not the hero who goes on the adventure, and so you refuse the call, right? If we think about the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy, she's longing for something. So she wants something beyond this home life that she has, and then she finds this professor who says, your family's in trouble, you need to go home, you can't run away. And so then suddenly she feels a lot of fear, and she goes back home. She leaves that adventure behind, and then that's sort of the refusal that she faces, right? And then there's the belly of the whale, which is once you've embarked on the adventure, so you've faced you have refused it, but then now you've passed that threshold, right? You've moved past all the resistance, and now you've embarked on the adventure, and you're going to meet a mentor, and there's all sorts of trials that happen along the way. But then there's the main crux of the journey, which is called the belly of the whale. It's where the death rebirth happens to the hero. They face some kind of whether it's their own shadow or the shadow of the world, or some kind of enemy. With Luke Skywalker, he's facing the evil empire, and he's really coming into his power, but he has to face all these difficulties, right? So even in Matrix, Neo has to sort of really go through all this training. He has to get tackled down by the agents, but through that process he's dying to who he was. He's by the end of the film, he's like this totally new person, and so that's really the crux of the hero's journey, the belly of the whale. And then of course we have the return, where the hero has gone through this entire journey and they come home. They're bringing back the elixir of life, whatever they've learned. Now they are bringing back home. This is the short form of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, but it really is the crux of it. And And so yeah, I highly recommend looking more into it if you're interested in learning about the hero's journey, but that's where I'm going to leave it for now. So now for the part that you're probably wondering about, the astrology, right? So I just want to share a story of mine and how astrology was so intertwined with my hero's journey. So I was really into philosophy and psychology and cosmology. Like I was, this was like after undergrad, I was so keen to learn about how our cosmos, the universe, but through physics, was interconnected to human consciousness. I just wanted to understand that intersection. So I applied to this grad program in San Francisco, California Institute of Integral Studies, and the program was philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness. Like literally everything I wanted in 3 words was right there. So I went for it. And then when I got there, it was amazing. But then I found out that astrology was the hidden heart of the program. The professor, Richard Tarnas, who founded the program, he was this, revolutionary astrologer. And I had no idea who he was when I came in. I didn't even know astrology was being taught. And so I was actually quite disappointed because I was a skeptic. I didn't believe in astrology, and that's, I'll tell you in another video why that was the case. I have a background for that, but basically I was like a super skeptic. And so when I found out that this was a big part of the program, I was so disappointed. And so it's the call to adventure there was that I sensed that there was something more to life than what I had thought, which is that I had this choice between applying to this grad program or applying to another grad program with a more prestigious brand name. But when I was applying, I suddenly felt this tug in my heart that, don't even apply to that other prestigious program because you're not really going to get what you want out of life from there. It's just all, vanity metrics. So I let that go. So I followed the call to adventure. But then when I encountered that astrology was part of the program, I was almost like refusing the call. I was like, no, this cannot be. And I was so disappointed. And I would look away from my friends, my classmates who were really into it. And, I was like, is this the right thing for me? I don't know if I came to the right place. So there was a strong refusal there. But then COVID happened. So this was like fall 2019 when I got to the program. And then COVID happened, like pretty much in a couple of months. And so I was locked up, and I was with my classmate who had then become my partner at that point, and he was already deep in it. And so during COVID, I really went deep into myself, and as I'm sure many of us did, and I did a lot of shadow work. I did therapy. I was looking at my past and trying to get over some humps, like insecurities that I had. And through that process, I really came to realize that astrology was real, not only just for my personal reasons, but I was able to see how the culture, our collective culture was shifting through astrology. And of course, I ended up taking classes with the professor, Richard Tarnas, and learning more, reading his book, Cosmos and Psyche. And so my skepticism was sort of dissolving, and I truly jumped into the call, for that adventure. The belly of the whale was really actually like facing myself and a lot of other trials that came my way. But I just wanted to share that story to just show you how sometimes it can be really subtle, but it's there. And now, how did I come to see my chart as something being importance to knowing what my hero's journey was about? Well, just to put this out there, as an archetypal astrologer, I don't actually look at the zodiac signs, so I only look at the planets and the aspects between the planets. So whenever I talk about astrology, it's really just the planets. So for today, I'm going to suggest that we just look at one planet, okay? And it's the sun. The sun is the archetypal principle of your vitality, of who you are, how you identify yourself, your self-expression. And it's really about your story, right? How you shine in this world, how people come to know you. And so, I think if you want to really know what your hero's journey is about, is you should look to the sun. So I'll give you an example, right? 2 examples. There's Elon Musk, who has a sun Uranus alignment in his chart. So Uranus is all about innovation and it's innovation, change, and being the trickster. It's a bit eccentric. It also has to do with technology. So his sun, like literally who he is aligned with that archetype of Uranus, and he's like this super brilliant technologist, but he's also a trickster, right? I mean, we all know that now. When he smoked a joint on Joe Rogan's podcast, and all these other things that he's done. I mean, he's like super brilliant, which is the essence of what Uranus is about. It's like this lightning bulb going off, and it's brilliant in that way. So it's so interesting to see that he is on his hero's journey, like really living his chart in that way. And then the other person I wanted to look at is the political commentator Candace Owens, right? She has a Sun-Pluto alignment, and I don't know if you've seen any of her stuff recently, but she's like really exposing some shadow collective material, like from politics to it's really mainly politics, I would say, but she's really digging deep. Pluto is all about the underworld, things that are taboo, things that we don't want to look at, but she's kind of bringing that out to the surface and looking at it and unveiling it. So that's what she's come to be known for, right? She's really like an investigator in that sense of all the corruption, of world corruption. And so you can very clearly see that in her chart. So if you're someone who's like not so sure about what you want to do in life, I would really, really start by looking at your birth chart and just see what planet is your sun touching, and then dive into that. And you can do this easily. You can just go online and find a birth chart calculator, and just don't even look at the other planets, just look at the sun, and then you can go from there. So yeah, give it a go, and I'd love to know, please put in the comments like what you find. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as well about what the other archetypes mean, and I'll create more videos on this. But I also want to share that if you're interested to deepen into this, to actually find out what is your hero's journey, what is your myth, and are you living it, where Numinous Realm is hosting a free masterclass online to help you unlock this exact thing, and really looking at how this revolutionary breakthrough in astrology can help you do that. So the link is in the description below, so if you're interested, just register, and we would love to see you there. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.